Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, coming to you from a kind of a cold day in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, here at the Morning Crane Healing Arts Center with your DIY Home Remedies Guide to Health, Happiness, and Healing Transformation. Well, with everything going on in the news lately with this coronavirus, I thought I'd step aside from my normal outline that we were going off of with our DIY Home Remedies book that's going to be coming out later this year, and talk about the coronavirus and just what are some of the preventative things that we could do in order to help us not get sick or to strengthen our immune system. According to Chinese medicine, we recognize viruses and bacteria, but once they enter into the body, we look at, okay, is this an internal, external condition? Is this a hot or cold condition? Is this an excess or deficient condition? Is this a yin or yang condition, also referred to as the 8 parameters? We have so many cool methods in order to diagnose or to assess a situation. And when we talk about diseases, especially cold or heat-induced diseases, then we look at the 6 stages and the 4 levels of disease to let us know just what stage or what level the pathogen has entered into the body. Now, when we do have a virus, let's say like there's the coronavirus going around that enters into the body, now we look at, okay, is it a cold condition? Is it a hot condition? Is it a combination? Or maybe it's a damp, cold condition. So in Chinese medicine, the cool thing is that they look at the 6 pernicious influences, or also referred to as the 6 evils, that create disease when it enters into the body. So there's whole books out there, like the Su Wen, also referred to as the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Difficulties, that talks about diseases, and especially diseases that arise when seasons aren't in season. And who knows, maybe this coronavirus was a byproduct of that, but also the climatic changes that have been happening and the global warming that's going on. And so when we look at the disease, it's like, okay, well, what part of the body is it affecting? Some of the simple ways that you could assess yourself is on the initial onset. For example, if you have an invasion of what we call as wind cold, then the person will have chills, light chills, maybe a low fever. They will have an aversion or fear of cold. They will not want to be cold at all. And they could have sputum that's very thin and white, and this is a sign that cold is invading the body. So what do we want to do? We want to warm the body from the inside. So some of the things that we could do food-wise would be to add turnips to our diet. We could add leeks to our diets, ginger, a lot of pungent foods, because pungent foods are actually warming in nature. And also, too, what can we do is we can nurture our earth element, which is our spleen and our stomach. So having foods that are very bland in nature, having khichdi. If you click on the link below, I'll share with you my favorite khichdi recipe. And let me warn you ahead of time that it's going to take you a little bit to process and put this recipe together, but it's very good, especially if your immune system is weak or you already have a virus within yourself. Now, if you have wind heat, then the person obviously dislikes heat. They want to kick off the bed covers. They may have spontaneous sweating. They could also have body aches and also have a fever, whether low grade or a high fever. Once again, foods that disperse the external from the internal, as they view it in Chinese medicine, are those pungent foods that I just listed. On the initial onset, a slight sore throat, runny nose, an itchy or tickly throat, muscle aches, what I suggest people to do, as long as your immune system or your constitution isn't too weak, I like to sweat. So what I do is I take about 2 cups of Epsom salt, and I put it in a bathtub with hot water, as hot as I could tolerate it, and I lay back and I sweat. Now I want to totally submerge my whole chest and abdomen region, if you could fit into the tub, and I want you to sweat. So the hot water helps to open up the pores, and then the Epsom salt actually helps to pull the toxins out of the body. A simple remedy, if you don't sweat easily, that you could go ahead and do about half an hour to 45 minutes before getting into that hot Epsom salt bath, is taking about a 4-ounce glass of hot water, fresh ginger. So chop up some fresh ginger. You could put in maybe half a teaspoon of cayenne and some cinnamon. Now, it doesn't taste the greatest, but guess what? You drink that bad boy down, and within about 30 minutes, you're going to start sweating because you're going to increase your thermatic temperature internally, okay? So it's going to help the process. So the initial onset of a virus or initial onset of any type of cold or flu, we want to get the pathogen out before it goes too deep into our body. So this is where we get into the 6 stages of disease. So the superficial stage is the yang stage of disease, but then we get into the yin stage, and that becomes dangerous because now internal organs are starting to be affected. So the organs that a lot of times get affected, especially if it starts to go deeper really quickly into the yin stage, and one of the last stages is actually called the terminal yin stage of disease. But anyways, it would be the lungs, the kidneys, and the spleen. So if you are coughing up sputum, whether yellow, green, or thick white sputum, what we want to do is we want to clear that heat, we want to clear that cold out right away. So we do not want the disease to get to that stage. Now, grant you, according to the 6 stages of disease, it could happen really quickly. It doesn't have to progress over days. So initial onset, make yourself sweat. Use a remedy that I recommended to help to increase your thermatic temperature in order to sweat, and also cooking and having foods that are very bland in nature and foods that are pungent. Some very simple herbal formulas that I recommend. And any of these herbal formulas or any of these dietary recommendations, please consult your local acupuncturist, herbalist, and your physician, your primary healthcare physician, to make sure that this is not going to be a contraindication for whatever medication you may be on or for whatever else is going on in your body. So one of the very simple traditional Chinese formulas is called Yin Chow. So you click on the link below, and Yin Chow, I recommend to take a lot of those at once. And now if you read the bottle's description, they'll actually recommend that you take 2 to 3 every 3 to 4 hours. For myself, I recommend taking 7 to 8 of those every 4 hours for the first couple of days. Really attack it heavily and make sure that you get plenty of sleep, you drink plenty of room temperature water as you're taking them, and avoid foods also like sugar, avoid foods like greasy, fatty, fried food. This is going to make your stomach and your body and your gallbladder have to work harder. If your immune system's already trying to fight off this pathogen, we don't want to weaken it anymore. Any kind of processed food, processed meats, processed cheeses, whatever, non-organic foods, those are also things that makes our system work harder. And so in order to help prevent us from getting this or to strengthen our immune system, these are some very, very simple remedies. Now, if you're somebody that's already got the flu, then there's another formula called Gan Mao Ling. And Gan Mao Ling, I will recommend to clients that you would take, let's say, 3 or 4 of those to maybe 2 to 3 of the Yin Chow and combine them together. There's another formula called Zhang Gao Ling, and that's when the flu's really attacked the body. And in that case too, I would recommend taking 3 or 4 of those and then mixing it with 2 to 3 of the Yin Chow every 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so these are some very, very simple formulas that you could do. Cough syrups like with elderberry are very good. There's a lot of good brands out there like Planetary Formulas. Nature's Way also has some really good formulas out there. Okay, so these are some very, very basic herbal remedies that you can do to help to push out the virus once it gets in, or if you're already sick, to help you get through it a lot quicker. But just as a preventative, what I like to do is I like to take 2 to 3 of those Yin Chow every single day, and I will take it on an empty stomach, especially if I'm getting on an airplane. I'll take 2 to 3, and this helps to keep my immune system strong. And other things we could do is Qigong practices. So for example, we could do patting the meridians. And you can click on the link below to this YouTube page for patting the meridians. Also the lung move, and the lung move is very simple. You just inhale through the nose, imagine a white cloud filling up into the lungs, and then as you exhale, allow for the toxicity to leave the lungs like a dark cloud going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. So I inhale, white cloud comes in, exhale, and imagine the toxicity leaving the lungs where the lung acupuncture meridian actually ends, and then it connects to the large intestine meridian. So very, very simple remedies. You can also pat lung 1 and lung 2, and try not to pat too hard here to keep my mic from freaking out on me. So I'm just going to cup the hands. I'm going to pat lung 1 and lung 2 and brush down. Another very simple remedy that you can do too, especially if you have children that are sick, and you can do this on yourself too. So this is your radial artery, this is your lung acupuncture meridian, and lung acupuncture meridian, just like all the other 12 regular meridians, are bilateral, meaning they're on both sides of the body. So it doesn't matter what side you utilize. So one of the things that you could go ahead and do is you could rub from lung 9 to lung 7. What I do is I take some coconut oil and I rub towards the lungs, and I'm just going to sit there and gently rub towards the lungs here. And I can do this for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Rub. And you know, this will actually, believe it or not, help to reduce the fever. And children really respond to this very quickly as well too. Also, what else can we do? Oh, a very, very simple technique is to order some liquid moxa and it only costs like $8 or $9. And what you're going to do is you're going to place it on stomach 36 and spleen 6. So stomach 36 is located on the outside of the leg, right below the kneecap, at the end of the kneecap here. Now spleen 6 is located off the shin bone on the inner aspect of the legs, and once again you're going to take 1 to 2 drops of this liquid moxa, heat it with a hair dryer. Now this is going to get hot, so be careful not to burn yourself. You do this in the morning, you do this in the evening, 1 to 2 a day, and this will help to resolve any phlegm inside the body. So the spleen actually produces the phlegm and the lungs actually store it or hold it. So this would go into our sinuses as well too. So another acupuncture point is conception vessel 3, which is right below the belly button, about 2 fingers below the belly button approximately. And once again, 1 to 2 drops of the liquid moxa, and then you're going to heat it as much as you could tolerate it. Be careful not to burn yourself because this will get hot, and pull the hair dryer away. You could do this for about 10 to 15 minutes. So as it gets hot, if it gets too hot to handle, then you're going to pull it away. It's going to bring it back once it cools down a little bit. It's too hot, too hot, too hot, baby, hot. Anyways, you're going to go ahead and bring the hair dryer back towards conception vessel 3, and then you're going to heat this. This is a connecting point actually for the lower dantian, also connecting back to the kidneys. Okay, so there you have it. I gave you a number of different things to do to help you to hopefully help prevent getting the coronavirus, and actually help to strengthen your immune system. But if you do have the flu, or if you do think you have this virus, please just common sense things. Always wash your hands. Don't go out in public if you're sick, if possible. Make sure that you cover up. Make sure you don't go out into the wind also where it's windy, because the wind is a driving force for all diseases of the body. So I want to make sure to wear a scarf. Some very common sense things. So I recommend foods. So congee is one of them. Bland foods like sweet potatoes, those things that help to benefit and nurture your spleen, stomach, and pancreas. Also pungent foods like onions, garlics, leeks, and turnips. And turnips are probably one of my favorite actually, because they're antibacterial and antifungal. So those are some basic foods. We recommended also yin chow as a preventative, but on the initial onset, as soon as you feel something, taking yin chow. There's also other formulas too, like gong mao ling if it's gone a little bit deeper into the body, and then zong gan ling is for if you have the full-fledged flu. But once again, please talk to your primary healthcare provider before taking any of these supplements to make sure it's not going to be contraindicated for you. I recommended rubbing on the lung acupuncture meridian from lung 9 to lung 7 towards the chest bilaterally on both sides. I also recommended patting the lung meridian, lung 1 and lung 2 on both sides of the chest. You could also do brushing the meridians, which is, if you click on the link below, that link will actually take you right to brushing the meridians. Recommended also the lung movement to help to purge the lungs. One other thing too is to do the kidney move as well, because we want to strengthen what is referred to as upright qi, to make sure we can have the immune system that we should have to be able to ward off the invasions of any pathogens. And so once again, just to wrap up here, we understand what viruses and bacteria are, but once they enter into the body, then we really look at it totally different. It really becomes, like I said, like a hot or cold condition, a damp condition, damp cold, damp heat condition. And then we look at what internal organs is being affected. Then what we do is then we go ahead and put together a meal plan or herb plan, Qigong plan that's going to be able to help to address those situations. I also recommended too taking a hot Epsom salt bath with about 2 cups of Epsom salt, soaking for about 15 minutes. If you're somebody who has a hard time sweating, then taking 4-ounce glass of hot water, some fresh ginger, half a teaspoon or a little bit less than half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper and some cinnamon. Again, it's not going to taste the greatest, but guess what? It's going to make you sweat. Okay, so there you have it. From my heart to yours, I'm Chris Shelton, signing off from a kind of a cold and wet day in San Jose, California, here at the Morning Crane Healing Arts Center. Wishing you health, happiness, and healing transformation. Until next time, I will see you later.